One of the things that we've talked about a little bit here on the channel has been the death of Mecha Man Astral, the father of Robert. The death of Robbie was something that is mentioned from the very beginning of the game's story. And it's something that never really gets answered within the actual video game. Now we know that Robert and his father did not have the best relationship. It feels like his dad was always busy and really tough on him growing up. But Robert still felt a responsibility to carry the legacy of the Mecha Man hero, and even felt compelled to get revenge for his father's murder. Now what we know is that there's two versions of the death of Mecha Man Astral. Number one is what the world knows, and number two is what Shroud tells everyone that listens. Let's take a look at number one. During the press conference that Robert holds, there's a news coverage that plays before it, and it talks about the legacy of Mecha Man, from the very first one to the most recent one. It also covers the events of the death of Mecha Man Astral. The news says that Shroud, a former Brave Brigade member, killed Astral, and they even show a shot of Shroud standing over what appears to be Mecha Man Astral, almost as if he was caught in the act. Let's take a look at the scene here.
After years of loyal service, tragedy struck again when Shroud, a former Brave Brigade member turned villain, killed the pilot of Mecha Man in cold blood.
Now this leads us to believe that Shroud attacked Astral head on, and maybe there was a big fight, which Mecha Man Astral ended up losing. And the news state that Shroud is Elliot Connors, a former hero and member of the Brave Brigade. But as we know in the comics, Robbie never allowed Elliot to actually join the Brave Brigade team. And that's really what started their disagreements. So the world has this version or this idea of how Shroud killed Mecha Man Astral. And if we sat there and didn't know any better, we would agree and believe that story. Now for number two, we have what Shroud tells everyone that listens. And some of that is expressed by Toxic in this confrontation with Robert.
Oh hey! After our conversation, I asked him about your dad. Fun little tidbit. He was very well hydrated. Turns out right after Shroud shot him in the chest, your dad pissed his pants. Bet you didn't know that, huh? So after that bullet tore through his insides, he still had enough time to know how absolutely fucked he was and just pissed himself like a little bitch. It was like so much piss. Because your dad was wearing shorts, so it just kept...
I get it.
Here, Toxic basically says that Robbie was a coward that died scared for his life and even pissed himself, really ruining and hurting the strong and heroic image that maybe Robert had about his father. I mean, imagine if the world was told that, or the news outlets. It would really affect the legacy of Mecha Man Astral, at least in my opinion. Now, the reason Shroud goes with this story is to make Mecha Man Astral look weak. He hated him and wanted him to be remembered as nothing more than a fraud and a weak, cowardly man. When Shroud has Robert tied up, he tells him how he killed his dad. Take a listen here.
This was your father's gun. Kept it in his locker, fully loaded. 6 shots. He couldn't have predicted I'd use it to kill him. The first bullet grazed his shoulder. I hadn't adjusted to the adrenaline spike. The second hit his upper chest. The third burst his heart. He was lying on the floor, eyes full of fear, when I put the fourth through his face. Bit of a waste to put the fifth through that idiot's skull, but I wanted to make sure it worked after all these years. Your father was the last person to touch this bullet. And now, there's a 16.5% chance it touches you next.
So Shroud goes on this wild story about how he put 4 bullets in Robbie, in the shoulder, the upper chest, and in his skull. That would again paint the picture of Robbie dying a cowardly and brutal death. And it also paints Shroud as this badass villain who embarrassed the great Mecha Man Astral. He's destroying his legacy, especially to his son and to anyone else that listens to him, so other villains will have that same image. Well, what we know is that neither of those scenarios are true. They are both lies. When we take a look at the 4th and final comic of Dispatch, it explains in detail how Shroud killed Robbie. Shroud got the shit beat out of him by Robbie after an altercation. Now, Robbie took a cheap shot, alright? Let's not pretend that he didn't. But nonetheless, Shroud got his ass beat. And after this, Robbie is chilling in the lounge talking to Chase, and Shroud, or Elliot, was in the medical area getting examined. So as Chase is talking to Robbie, the elevator opens up and Shroud immediately takes a shot from a distance towards Robbie. Only one. That bullet penetrated his suit and hit him right in the chest. Chase would attempt to reach the bullet in time, but he couldn't, and Shroud immediately escaped. He took the elevator down. One singular shot is all that was fired, and Robbie died in Chase's arms. And his last words were him saying his friend's name. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Robbie wasn't scared or in pain. I'm sure that he was, but he didn't die this dramatic, cowardly death that Shroud is making everyone believe. Dude is a freaking liar. He is a master manipulator and really a narcissist. Some of you guys can hate Robbie, and that's fine, but Shroud was no better. Now, I'm sure Shroud sits there and wishes, he just wishes that he would have killed Robbie the way that he told Robert. You know, sometimes you tell yourself a lie so much. You say this lie over and over again to everyone and anyone that listens that you start to believe it. You start to think, yeah, that's actually how it happened. And maybe in Shroud's head, he told this damn lie, this damn story that he made up to make himself sound so cool and badass that he just kept saying it over and over and over again that he started believing it himself. And that's what he thinks happened. Now, the only person that can dispute this, the only person that can say the truth is Chase, because Chase is the only other hero that was there physically and saw it with his own eyes. So all of this to say that was the real death of Mecha. That is the real way that Shroud killed Robbie. And why would Shroud lie? And once again, I think he's lying because it's easy to build himself up and tear the legacy of Mecha Man down due to his hatred for him, and nobody is there to refute it. Will the world, or more importantly Robert, ever find out the truth? Maybe we'll find out in a season 2.